Welcome back to the Future of Figure Skating. I'm your host, Anna Keller. My guest today is the 1980 Olympic champion Robin Cousins. In his amateur competitive career, Robin won 3 world medals, a European title, and 4 British national championships. He's also had a prolific professional career, appearing in and producing numerous ice shows and competitions, judging dancing on ice, commentating for the BBC, and even appearing on stage in West End productions. He remains deeply connected to the sport as the president of British Ice Skating. I spoke to Robin at the 2025 European Championships, where he shared his ideas for reforms that could make skating more popular with the general public. So, Robin, thank you so much for talking with me here.
Pleasure. My pleasure.
It's great to meet at the European Championships, and I know you've been watching. We're halfway through at this point. What has struck you so far about the skating?
The diversity and the quality, the general quality overall is very strong. I think the diversity, in as much as there are so many different people in the top 5 of each discipline who have something to offer the other ones don't, and I think that's always a good thing. Skating these days is always getting criticized because they're all doing the same thing, they all look the same. You can watch on YouTube, watch it on video, whatever it's going to be, at probably most major championships these days and go, actually, they are doing the same thing, but those people are doing it slightly differently. Those people are trying a little harder choreographically. So I think we're in a good place, but we've got to do more.
It's been great to see so many of the British skaters doing well here. Seeing Anna and Luke being in the top 5 a couple of years ago, I would not have thought that they would necessarily get there. But
last year we probably wouldn't, and we were hoping, obviously, for top 10 it would be good to get 2 places for next year's European Championships that we're hosting in Sheffield. Their short was great. Issues with the long a little bit, but a lot of people did, and the fact that Anna, after that horrendous fall, was able to then come back. And if anybody's going to be a strong dynamo on the ice, it's going to be Anna. And we were all very proud of them last night, and it was a good event.
Yeah, it's been great to watch how they've really grown and kept working and seeing that development year after year. And it takes a while to become pair skaters, and they've really done it.
It absolutely does, and you want that hunger. And for a lot of people, it can be an instant fix. For others, whether it's ice dance or pairs, 12 years together and they finally have the thing. And that, again, that's what makes it different, in the diversity in styles and approach to the performance, even between the Italians and the Germans, quite a way above everybody else, which is brilliant. So very different, and you will have a preference regardless of what elements they're doing. And I think that, to me, as a skating fan, is really important. Does somebody have something to say without the jumps and the lifts and the spins? And you will find that the non-skating people will be drawn to the performance because of the music and the choreography, as much as skating fans would be drawn to the elements.
It's one of the reasons that I actually love coming to Europeans, because I often most enjoy, of course, the very top group and the best skaters, but I often really enjoy watching some of the first groups, because those are the skaters that I might not see in the international competitions. They might not have as many of the jumps, but are often really interesting skaters who come from, they maybe are coming out of a different coaching environment or have a different thing to say. And so,
a different country. They are raw, and they are the future, and they are exciting. Good, bad, or indifferent performance, it doesn't matter, they are out there. What I like to see is the joy in the practice sessions, and that they're all skating for the right reasons. Ultimately, you step onto the ice and someone's going to press play and you want to do your best. Nobody steps onto the ice to make mistakes, but it's going to happen. As I said to somebody yesterday, your job is to make as many mistakes as you can. Just try not to make the same mistake a second time. And he went, I hadn't thought about it like as well. You don't learn if you don't make mistakes, but you have to acknowledge them in order to move forward from them. And I think that's the learning curve for a lot of youngsters. But of course, you don't get that. I have that now in hindsight, having worked as the skater, as the coach, as the professional performer, and now mentoring and working. It's, the information you want to pass on. And I think, put this out there now, my feeling is that the IJS is how you are judged. It must not and should not be how you are taught. Teach people to skate. Teach them the basics. Teach them all the basic jumps, all the basic spins, all the turns. Make them know what that turn is, what they're doing. take the time at the beginning and it will pay its reward later. So many, especially young coaches, are pushed by the parent to deliver what the kid needs now to compete.
Right.
And they can do a broken leg spin, and they can do 5 different positions. They cannot do a plain basic layback. They can't do a plain basic landing on a jump because I need to twizzle out. I always say, earn the right. Let us know that what you're doing after that jump landing or in that spin is done on purpose and because you know how, not just because you can. Yeah. So there you go. That's me spouting the IJS thing.
No, I completely
but coaching,
agree.
I can't say I get sick of it, but people keep saying, oh, I miss figures, I miss compulsory thing. There's nothing stopping a coach from teaching it. The fact that you don't have to trace it, you can do it on public sessions. You could take a 15-minute lesson twice a week and teach compulsory figures to your 10-year-old students. Nothing's stopping you. So don't complain about we don't need it to compete anymore. It's like you don't take your child to piano lessons and not expect them to be taught skills of how to use the keys, how to use your hands, how your fingers work. That's not what you go to the concert hall to see. So yeah, I think it's important that the basics, which is probably what most of the youngsters are missing, that skill set of understanding the use of the blade.
Yes, of course. This summer I was able to watch some of the training camps at Stefan Lambiel's school in Switzerland, and watching Peter Gruter working with the young kids, where he took the exercises that he had learned in order to do figures, but had transformed them into, a set of warm-up exercises, things that were a little more practical, but kept those basics. And it was great to watch that.
But it's understanding, it's watching the child do those edge moves, edge steps, so sort of field moves as they were, and I watched them do the exercises now, and I said, why are you doing this? And they can't tell you. You're doing everything with the upper body, and your knee and your ankle are absolutely doing nothing. The boots don't help. Yeah. But you need to be able to manipulate that blade. You need to know what your body can do in order to make the blade do this, to do that. There's a fundamental understanding of the use of the blade, which doing compulsory figures and doing exercises over and over, but it's not just doing the exercise, it's understanding what purpose it serves. Why are you doing that? You tell me. Oh, it's making me do this with my knee, and then my body does that, and I have to keep my arm. Okay, you get it. Let's move on. If you don't get, there's no point in just doing it for the sake of doing it. It has to have some value.
Yeah, well, I mean, and that's so interesting when it comes to thinking about teaching the kids not just how to do the thing, but the why of it, so that then they are able to, build and their own
talent thing. My parents come and say, "Oh, I can't wait for you to work with my child. They're so talented." And I go, "That's great. Why don't you just bring them back when they want to use it?" Because from personal experience, I know, you do things because you can, not necessarily because you know how. And the talent does it, and you can just see that. Oh my God, it's amazing. And then they'll come and go, "I've lost my double toe loop. I've lost my axe." I go, "You haven't lost it. Where did it go? Shopping? You haven't lost it. It's just not in your body today, and your brain doesn't know how to fix that. Because when it goes right, you haven't actually computed what's making it be right." So again, it's that it's the teaching and the understanding of being able to do a jump. Coaching, if I'm mentoring and working with the kids, it's like, a lot of them just do and they're going, "I haven't got a clue, I haven't got a clue, I haven't got a clue." And you say, that was great. Not only do you want to point out when it's wrong, validate what they've done, but have them tell you why you're validating it. Why did that work? Why was that good? Because I did this, this, and this. I don't know why. Okay, let's break it down. Don't ignore it because they landed it. Spend as much time making sure they understand what that was in order for them not to have to come to you the next time and you repeat yourself. I mean, parents must be, it's one of the only sports where you pay and pay and pay to get the same information day in, day out. No, make sure that information can stay with the kid and move forward and it doesn't matter, doesn't matter what level they are, doesn't matter whether they're a basic novice, learn to skate, or an Olympian. The validation that they understand what you're talking about is absolutely something that needs to happen.
Do you think that the judging or competition system, perhaps in the developmental level, should change to try to
build quality or in those basics before going in the direction? Because without the incentive, it's hard to argue that people should do something that's not leading them toward that success.
It's like I said, that's when you have to trust the coach, and the coach has to know, and the coach shouldn't have to justify them doing their own job, but ultimately it will make the difference. I was taught from my Learn to Skate class to my first World Championship by an ice dancer who jumped a little bit. She skated alongside John Curry when they were children, but her whole thing was the aesthetic. All of her skaters looked immaculate. We did giant single jumps when other people were falling doing doubles. And you kind of go, oh, I'm on a podium.
Yeah.
People they love the way you skate. And Carlo Fossi looked her right in the eye and said, I could never do what I did if you hadn't done what you did. It doesn't just appear because, as he said, that no one has the magic wand. You know, you need the basics.
Yeah.
It's building a house, building the foundation. So changing the rules in order to accommodate lack of coaching skills in the student, putting it bluntly like that, is ineffective, because whatever you do up here as an Olympian needs to be exactly the same as you do down here as a basic novice. Of course, the intensity is different and the rotations but the basic skills have to remain the same all the way through. Otherwise, you won't have the growth, and you won't have the diversity in everyone else's version of the same thing, which is what you get now with a lot of the coaches. Where I think from the judging point of view, and I will say this in the nicest way to many, many judges, if you haven't had the blade underfoot ever, or at maybe a very basic, you will never understand the complexity of what makes somebody be able to do what we're watching at this championship at this level. A rule book will give you the rules, but it will not teach you how it feels to have a blade under your foot. And I think that's part of the new education that the ISU are looking at, is that, you know, we want judge education and we want coach education, officials education, because I feel more so now that I've started to articulate it, that I think that feeling of understanding, when I watch somebody and I can feel, I'm not talking about whether they've landed a quad, whether they've done 15 revolutions on the spin, but I'll applaud and I go, because it's just a move, it's just a something, because I know what that feels like to try and make that happen, how difficult that little transition was. Other people sitting there going, what was that? You don't need to know. But those people sitting there should know, because it's a major part of the components, as is music theory, musicality, and the feeling of it. You can always tell the skater who's doing what they've been told to do versus the skater who is feeling what they've been told to do and have made it their own. And again, that comes with time and nurture. Again, going back to Pam Davis, who taught me, and I started picking my own music with her when I was 10, 11, we would go to the market and pick the fabric because it was the color of the shirt I wanted to use. And then she would say, well, that's a great piece of music, but let's put that in the drawer and let's earn the right to use it. Let's wait until you're good enough for it. And starting to play and choreograph and make it me. And that's the one thing I've always been known for, and I was always different, because I was always, you're too tall, you're too impetuous, you go too fast, you throw yourself in the air. So all those things that I was told not to do, I was going to do anyway because I was told not to. But I think, especially at such an impressionable age at that time, and I think making sure you give your students that same time. It's like the teacher-parent conference when coaches wait, and you know you've got your bag over your shoulder and you've got your keys in your hand. Oh, do you have 5 minutes? What about the bag over the shoulder and I'm leaving at 6 o'clock at night, having been here all day, makes you think I've got 5 minutes. I actually have 15 minutes, and it's your next lesson. And we'll go and sit in the cafe and we'll put your daughter here and me here and the parents, and we'll make sure we're all on the same page, because sometimes what one wants and what the other wants and what the coach wants, completely different. And again, that's combative, that's not helpful. So again, making sure all the way through the career, which is why, for me, especially with young coaches we have coming in, keep the engagement with the family and the student to make sure they all want the same thing, because not everybody wants to be an Olympian. A lot of people want to be a Disney princess, or I want to be Prince Eric and I want to join Disney on Ice, Holiday Ice. I just want to, they're the performers, great. because you will teach them completely differently. They won't get hurt. They won't get upset. They won't get demoralized. And they will continue, and some of them will become officials, and some of them will join an ice show. It's about engagement, because we tend to be blinkered about what do we need to compete. No, what do we need to keep people engaged in our sport across the field? The old adage of, if you were a single skater, you couldn't jump, you did pairs, and then you became a dancer, and then you're a synchro. That's out the window. They're all pretty much on a par. You look at the top synchro teams now, they're doing things that half our competitors can't do. So I think, our sports are so diverse. And again, that's something I have mentioned now, actually, at some point, you need to start looking at an event where you can put them all together.
Yeah.
So you could do figure and ice dance, short track, long track, and synchro, and have a global ISU event.
Oh, that's such an interesting
Maybe
idea.
every 4 years in between Olympic cycles.
Oh, see, this is the first time hearing of that idea, and it's something that I had wondered about, because certainly the synchro and the figure skating worlds definitely diverge. There are certain people who are fans of each, but they
kind of cross over. Canadians even have synchro and figure skating in the same national championship in the same week.
Which is wonderful, because it's the only time that I see synchro. And I was thinking about this as how, as a journalist and as a fan, as someone who's following the sport, it's hard for me to also follow synchro when it's not happening at the same time.
I love watching synchro, just because of the splices and the things. And I've worked with synchro choreographers with Holiday and Ice, and we bring them into it.
Yeah.
We're on a much tighter scale. But it's that feeling and that camaraderie is what's so amazing. Unfortunately, the way competitions work now is that the seniors never meet the juniors, never meet the novice, whether it's in singles and pairs or synchro or otherwise. But if there's a way for people to sit, because diverging slightly, but at the Olympics, when you sit in the big open, you suddenly realize that everybody is exactly the same as a human being interested in sport and doing the best they can within their sport. But the diversity of the sport is ridiculous. And within our sports and within the ISU, there is some great diversity, but there's also incredible camaraderie that needs to be exploited. And again, if you can create something, it can't happen all the time. And one of the reasons that's got me excited about it is because for Milan Cortina, it's a temporary long track ice rink, which I think is going to be pushed forward to then the next games in 2030. So it means that a country that has great skating ability, has arenas, that doesn't have that facility, could bring it in. I'm sure it's cost prohibitive, but amortized over X number of years, that type of thing, to bring that ISU skating community together is really, I think is really important in moving the ice sports forward.
I think that's a really interesting idea, because there's so little current crossover between the speed skating sports and figure skating synchro. Like, they diverge in at such an early point in most people's careers. I know of one person who switched from being a fairly elite figure skater to being a speed skater later in career, but it's very rare that people have that crossover.
We had a world champion who did that. Elise Christie was a junior national competitor, I think even a podium skater, went on to win world short track. And that crossover, there was an East German figure skater who became world speed champion back in the day. I think the crossover is always going to be there, and the diversity between, and I always say to coaches, and they go, oh, these kids, these little rugrats skating around. I said, don't get rid of them. Go and say, where's your mum? You need to have your child try short track, because they've got that energy.
That's what they want.
They want to, you want to expel it, go do it. They're not a figure skater. And I think we have to somehow dispel the myth that if you're not an elite figure skater, you're not very good. And I think that's really quite sad at the moment. Changing, obviously, because people are finding their way through, and certainly from a smaller NGB like we are, and quite a few NGBs where the learning process comes later, where they start competing at 12 and 13, 14, which in short track, long track is early. Figure skating, that was always then too late. Yeah. But now the age ranges have changed. So that's also changed. The age in which people are getting into competition can be slightly later, can be a bit later. We're not telling them you need to be jumping triples at 12 and 13 anymore, fortunately. Doesn't mean to say some can't, and some will, and they do. But what we're able to do is say, there's actually a much wider field for you to engage if that's what you're interested in.
Yeah, well, and that piece about when you specialize in a sport, like when you read the things overall about like how to, grow like a healthy sporting culture, like at a national level, how to have healthy athletes to continue on to sport as adults, like all of this sort of, broad general stuff. So much of that's specializing at a young age is bad. Don't compete early, don't specialize early. Those things often are harmful. And that's so counter to how our culture is in figure skating.
Well, there are cultures around the world that are all different from our own. It doesn't make them better, doesn't make them wrong, or us right, or them. It's the way things are, and we will find how they converge, and they will converge at an event and a championship, whether it's gymnastics, skating, diving, soccer, whatever it's going to be. If the kid is old enough to understand what they're doing and they are loving what they are doing, how about it? Go. You are encouraging, you are being supportive. You also need to be honest. When it's wrong, it's gone wrong. But let's fix it up. It's like I said to you before we started recording, kids need to understand that the more mistakes they make, the better they're going to be in the future. You just try and encourage them not to make the same mistake a second or a third time. You have to learn from them. Again, it's that honesty. When it goes wrong, why did it go wrong? When it's right, good for you, but tell me what made it right. So that then creates that healthy environment where you can. Parents, say to me, how can I be involved in my kids' skating? I don't know. I said, learn the PDF. You don't need to do anything. You can learn the PDF and learn what all those exclamations and things move. V does not mean very good, as some coaches will tell, because then you can say, oh, look, you got a level 3, you only got level 2 last time. You can engage with your child on a way that does not interfere with the coaching, but lets the kid know you're understanding what I'm trying to do. And those PDFs are going to follow you through your career. So your parent, learn them early, figure it out. And then you can have that healthy discussion with your child. You can have the discussion with your coaches about it. And why are we paying for this extra lesson this week? Why do we need to do that? Because this needs work. Components need work. This needs work. Okay. Oh, I get it, because I've seen it the last few competitions. Technical's great. Components appalling. Right. Okay. So we're not going to worry about jumping for a while, because that's just happening. That's fine. Let's again, engagement. Engagement and honesty checks.
Yeah. Absolutely. We've been hearing from the ISU that there's this interest in having new potential competition formats. You mentioned the idea of trying to bring all the sports together, but a lot of that's looking way into the future. But I think you also have some ideas for things that could be done sooner.
Yes, and there are quite a few of us that are around, and some of my conversations stemmed from speaking to fellow Olympians, ex-competitors who are now on the commentary circuit, who spend a lot of time apologizing to the audience for how things work, and it's not healthy. For instance, I will be covering Worlds from Manchester, but it'll be okay in the first replay. Please understand that nothing you are seeing and what we're watching from 5 different camera angles in super, super slow-mo is seen by the judging panel or the tech panel. They have their own camera. So you can moan and say, well, they missed that call, they missed that call. You've seen it on a camera that's on the other side of the rink going in super slow-mo. Their camera gives you a completely different angle. It doesn't take much to understand. So there are ways, we're looking at ways to counter that. And for me, one of the simple solutions, and again, I don't know, is that the host nation, the ISU cameras are replaced by the host broadcast camera, as they are in other sports. And then you put the ISU people on the camera. So those cameras get exactly what is required from the tech. But then hopefully that replay is available to go on to the Jumbotron and to go out. So we as commentators can actually comment on what the tech panel is seeing and the calls that are being made at the time in real time. That then again, fan engagement. So much of what I'm looking at and with my close group of friends and people, and now I've included Stefan Lambiella as a result of the ISU meeting the other day. There's a few people who have now come into that little group. It's nothing to do with changing necessarily the rules or how skaters are taught or what skaters are asked to do. It's how is it presented and how is it perceived, and how can we get the audience to engage and go, oh, I get it. oh, I didn't agree with that call, but I get why they made it. Oh, that makes sense. Oh, no, I can see that. Because at the moment, there's this invisible barrier, which is, and I will say this from as you point, not intentional, but the engagement is missing and people don't understand. And it's difficult when someone's in the kiss and cry and looking at their coach and looking at a score going, what does that mean? I don't get it. If you don't get it, how are your audience going to get it? You know, we watch gymnastics and we see 14, it's a 14, it's a 13.9, you know, that's not bad, 14.4, that's great. Nobody looks at a skating score and knows until they see a reaction or they see the one go up, two will go up. So it's engaging the audience again to get them to want to engage with the sport again in a way that I can see that, I get it.
Yes.
Already the PDFs are available and the scores are coming up on the app or whatever, but put it up there. You know, we got the box. The box was great and we get greens and reds and greens. But if it's a green and it's a spin, why isn't the level in the box?
Right.
Why isn't it a 1, 2, or a 3? Or if the jump is done and it gets a green, but maybe it's a green with a 1Q, meaning the first jump was on the Q and the second jump was again, information that should be freely available immediately that it can engage the audience. I think one of the things I feel, having watched so much and looked at rule books, is that the rules are almost designed in our sport to remove jeopardy. Make people feel good about what they did and go, which is great if you are a novice or a junior or hitting international juniors for the first time. But you don't reward Olympians for effort. You reward them for delivery. So one of the things, go back to my day, you fall, you get nothing. You stand up, you get the score. You stand up beautifully, you get extra score, you get the good GOE. But the delivery of the idea back in the day to support people trying more difficult moves has now got to the point where people are doing quads knowing they will never land it. If they're lucky, they'll get it backwards. So they're going to get points.
I talked to Walter Vertinen about that, who is chasing his minimums, and he was saying exactly that he's putting in a quad that he knows he will not get fully rotated, that he will probably fall on it, so that he has room for a second triple, that he can do that later, and he can get points that way. And he hates it. He hates it, absolutely.
See, these are the things that don't make sense when you say to somebody, yes, but I know they fell twice, but they were phenomenal, and they're really the best, and that's why they're world champion. It's an odd one, and I think, you know, that it's not. I don't think it stunts the growth, and I certainly wouldn't take that down to novices and juniors. Maybe at junior worlds, start to let them skate in the real world, as it were. But when you come to this level, the reward is for delivery, not for effort.
Yeah.
And I think then you get to that point where someone's done a clean program and with 2 quads and been beautiful, and it could be Yuma. And then if Ilya's skating afterwards, Ilya has to go, ooh, do I risk that 5th quad? Jeopardy comes into play, and the audience are going, will he, won't he? Shall we do it? Should she do it? Should they try it? There's that frisson. We saw it just the other night in the women's short program with that last group. Clean to clean to clean. 14 clean programs in a row. Yes, there were deductions, but 14, not deductions, but unders or Qs.
Sure.
But 14 clean programs. By the time we got to the end, there was that, oh, will she?
Yeah.
That frisson, that energy is what our sport lacks right now, because the engagement is not there in the way it's presented for the audience. And again, it's nothing to do with how they're taught. It's nothing to do with what they can do choreographically or what's in a rule book. You do it, you get rewarded. You don't, suffer the consequence and then fix it for next time.
Of course. When it comes to the choreographics or the second mark, when we're looking at the PCS, one of the things that I've been sort of struggling with is we want individuality. We want, and we, to some degree, what we want is inherently subjective, and yet the sport pushes in a very objective direction. And I think the judges feel and are told that if they don't mark within a very close to each other,
get rid of the corridor, because if you are, as it happened again in the old days, you would see 5.7, 5.7, 5.3, and the referee would ask that judge immediately, why is that? And if you can validate it and it makes sense, it stays. Again, the engagement. can you imagine, this is something
I
else I
want
say
to
to
hear
people.
the judges have to defend
Exactly.
it. Wouldn't that be amazing?
But then again, you imagine Wimbledon, the Wimbledon final, and the umpire is taking notes, and calls get made. Now, obviously not by people. Now it's VI, but none of them are challenged until a roundtable meeting the next day. But that's how our sport works.
Right.
So again, not changing anything about the field of play and what the skaters
anyone other
do.
than the most obsessive people even know the roundtable meetings even exist. Like, I think I would say most fans think that judges have no accountability. And then they start looking at it and they realize that actually the judges have that accountability, and the judges self-censor quite a bit.
Yes, and it's that understanding. And by the time you get to be a judge and an official at this level, you've gone from club to national to international. You've earned the right to be there, and your opinion is valid. Would it always be the same as the other people on that panel? I would hope not, because diversity is important. But that voice is never really given a chance to stand up as being the one who's out of line and go, but I'm the one who's right, I think.
Yeah.
Or vice versa, as it happened again under the old system, where it was more noticeable. So I think that's really important. And as Stefan thought, now we are again how the sport has evolved in the last few years since IGS came out there, and they went from +3 to +5. I think he's right. I think we need to go from +5 to +10. And that gives the GOEs more importance, and good, bad, and indifferent. It should be tested again, not at Olympic level. Don't test it with. Never test anything with the elite. Test it with the people who are your majority. Some people would say always go to your lowest common denominator. I wouldn't necessarily say that, but let's try it at some lower levels and see if it really does make a difference when someone is clean and beautiful with just singles and double jumps as opposed to quads and triples. It kind of skewers it, I think, if it was to be tested with elites. And maybe junior international level is probably a really good way to go forward. But I think that would help. And I think, as he said, how the components, which I would love to think, there are 3 components that collectively make the performance score or artistic score in the old days. I think performance is probably more important because artistry, choreography, musicality are all performance. So again, the 3 of those. We'll come on to the whole choreo issue in a minute. But I think, again, how you present it, switch it up on the PDF. I've already done that on paper, and I've already sent that to the RSU. It's like, why does technical have to be first? If people are saying we want components to have more visibility, and we want skaters to feel that the components are more important, just do that. It's not rocket science. It would change all the data input. Oh my gosh. However, when a kid looks at their PDF and the first thing they see is, oh my God, I didn't skate very well. Not that I landed all my jumps and look what I got for my jumps, but again, the reality check of it. And it just places a lot more importance. It also would indicate to the general public, we're taking it seriously and we think components are important. Jumping is not going to go away. People talk about jumping competitions, but hang on a minute. Jumps are only one part of the technical. There's spins that need to be not as equally as important. They won't carry the same weight, but they should, as equally as important. So if you're going to do a technical competition, it needs to be jumps and spins, and then you put steps and things in there. It's interesting. And then you were probably there when I was no. I hate the term choreo as something as a term for something within 4 minutes of choreography. That has nothing to do with choreography. Choreo is short for choreography. A split jump, a backflip, and Ina Bauer are not choreography. They're beautiful elements, spirals, knee slides. Let's find another term for that sequence. A trick sequence, a spectacular sequence, something. But we have to get back to the minute the music starts and the minute someone's hand moves or blade moves, that's choreography. And the choreography doesn't stop until the end. There's no choreography sequence in the middle of a 4-minute choreography sequence.
I completely agree. And I think nothing has annoyed me more in watching skating and then looking at the judges' scores than when skaters have had invalidated choreo sequences because they didn't do something that was, too specific skating
What are they
moves.
connecting them with?
And I thought
it should be choreography. It should be again. It's.
This is because someone did a whole lovely piece of choreography, but because it didn't have a recognizable Ina Bauer in it, it's like the element. Yeah. And so, it's such a misnomer. I completely agree.
Yeah, and I think also then it's the language used around what these sequences are or elements are. Mm-hmm. And when the announcement came out that the backflip was now an element in, it's not. Mm-hmm. It's a choreographic element, but it's not technical.
Yeah.
Doesn't fall under techno, but there's nothing choreographic about a backflip. I can tell you that, having done many. But how you tie those elements together must be in some way formed so people know the judges need to know when it starts and when it finishes, like a step sequence. Well, any choreographer and skater would be able to know that without having to have it written down.
The best skaters treat their jumps difficult. Like choreography too. I mean, that's,
yes. Yes. The choreography starts the minute the music and your body starts moving, and everything has to be seamlessly integrated. It drives me crazy when in a short program you have 3 jump elements and 2 of them are in the same corner in the same piece of ice. That to me is a 2 in components, because you've got all this. Mm-hmm. Again, a good coach and choreographer will make your student learn to jump everywhere, not just, that's my favorite corner. Oh, I have to jump over there. I choreograph with kids, say, no, I have to do that there. Have an order. People like to get the combo first. No, I like to spin first. But for goodness sake, you need to have some diversity in your ability to jump. Because how exciting is it when somebody finally does a triple Lutz or something directly in front of the judges coming at them? In the old days, it always went across. Now it's straight lines and various things. So again, diversity in your choreography. Will it give you any more points in the GOE? Possibly, but that's only if the jump is good. Yeah. But it does absolutely fulfill criteria in those components. Right. And again, that's something that needs to be driven home sooner. And taking the time, and the choreography of performances and the layout of programs is so important. But again, there's coaches who come from a pure technical background who don't have that ability. They can put a program together, but it doesn't get filled in. It doesn't get colored. There's some beautiful black and white out there, but everything needs to be colored in. And then there are other coaches and choreographers who can't teach the technical, but then that's when you can get a team. I think it's very difficult to be the all-encompassing coach these days. Yeah. When there is a lot of diversity out there to help you look at things from a different angle. We talked before about non-skating choreographers, and I've worked with Anthony Van Last in skating. I've worked with Rosalind Sumners when we did Sleeping Beauty with Lar Lubavitch. I mean, it's amazing, because dancers, they hate us because we can move doing nothing.
Yes.
Which is their biggest bugbear. They stand still and it's, okay, we're bored. But they love the diversity, but they hate the fact that we're not diverse as bodies, because we only jump the direction of our natural rotation. I danced when I was a child, which is why Pam said, well, let's spin in both directions with basics and do things. I jumped a little bit in both directions. But again, it's expanding out of the IJS mode and getting back into teaching people to skate the art of the sport. Somebody said to my dad many years ago, is it sport or is it art? And my dad put it quite succinctly. He said, the sport is in the training, the art is in the execution. And if you watch any figure skater train, you'll understand why it's called a sport. But the best skaters and the best champions will make you forget that it's a sport and think it's an art. Ta-da, there you go.
So then, what do you think about the idea of having the separate technical and artistic programs in order to get 2 medals? You also mentioned perhaps just looking at the 2 scores separately for 2 medals.
No, I think the issue, if we wanted to try and become a more medal sport, the first thing, and I put this out there that I'm not a fan of the word small medal. It diminishes the accomplishment. However, back in the day, the small medal, compulsory figures, free skating combined, and then you had your overall. So yes, they were smaller in as much as they weren't overall. Now, if you want to have that diversity and you want to have that connection to the component scores, so just very, very simply, get rid of the small medals. You have your world champion, which is the combined totals. But then take the tech from the short and the free, and that's your technical champion. Take the component, artistic score from the short and the free. There's your component champion. And when that worked, was however many years ago, where Ilya would have been world technical champion, Jason Brown, world artistic champion, and the overall world champion was Shoma Uno. It's already could have happened. I don't know, again, if it's always going to happen like that, but the opportunity that it should and could happen is important.
And knowing that that's a possibility, I also wonder if that might help judges to avoid doing the thing that I think sometimes happens where someone who's a great technical skater gets their components bumped up because the judge is thinking, but that should be the ultimate winner. I mean, there's a little, we see that creep that happens.
I would love, and I'm saying this honestly, I would love to think that nobody gets bumped without validation. And the reason I say that is because I watched Ilya Melinin at the Grand Prix final for the first time live. And whilst I've commentated on him and watched him, and I am in awe of his talent, I felt it for the first time in the arena. Is it finessed? Is it fine? Is it beautiful? No, but it's truly him, and it is honest. And that can never be seen and judged from a television performance. So I wasn't skewed about him, but I'm much more of a fan because now I have felt the performance by being in an arena when he is performing live. And that happens with so many people. I remember people saying to me, how did Tara win the Olympics? I said, if you'd have been in the building, it wasn't even close. No disrespect to Michelle. It was just in Nagano, in that moment, there was no contest. But watching it back at home, you kind of go, ooh, could have gone either way.
For the performance in the moment,
you have to be there in that moment. But then going back, and I think judges cannot say, oh, I can't be emotionally attached. I don't get. You have to. You need to give into that. And somehow, by giving into that, you will then also be able to be more honest as to whether or not it worked for them. Or they made me feel that. And that does then come into the components. So I think people who say, oh, you shouldn't get that, if you've seen him live and you still have that opinion, that's fine. And so and the same thing maybe with Vodin in the pairs, because the Germans, I can't say it's cold, but the Italians are Italian and the Germans are German. But in the venue, it's not as clear, it's more clear cut than you would think. There is nothing like the live performance of being there, and I hate commentating in a studio. And more of us are doing it, unfortunately, that way. So you have to be, and of course we don't get the information on screen that people have in the immediacy of the venue. So I think there's something to be said for the judging at the time is as honest as it's ever going to be, because that's how they felt, and they will justify it to anybody. And as long as they can, you don't have to like it, but you have to just get it that's because everybody's opinion is valid. And I love everyone's opinions, and I love getting that, talking about what could happen in the sport, what we can do moving forward. The more people who want to engage with it just shows you that people are passionate about it. And I'm going to meet again with Stefan because he got so excited. And again, you start sharing ideas, and someone was even talking about, yes, the team event is great, but maybe it should be a team performance. That gets me excited from somebody who spends my life with groups of 20, 30 people who are doing side-by-side twists and throws and things, and engaging with competitive elements in a show environment. I think that's something way off in the future, but
I love it when people start arguing with each other in the technical meeting. I thought, yes, that's exactly what this sport needs, because that shows that people feel like it's worth even voicing an opinion, that the change is possible to even be worth speaking up.
But the fact that that voice is now being asked for is a huge break forward.
Yes, I absolutely see that coming.
Yeah.
The question that I always like to sort of wrap us up with is, what do you hope for from the future of figure skating? Which is the huge, broad question.
It's not. It's a very simple one. I want to be able to sit at home, long retired, and press a button on my brain or whatever it is that's going to turn on that big screen and still watch competitive figure skating. It's that simple. Yeah. Our sport won't survive other than online and smaller events and diminishing audiences. We have one of the most spectacular sports in the world because you don't have to know anything about it to love it. Mm-hmm. But we need to make it simpler for people to want to know something about it.
Yeah. I think that's such a great point. I remember I think everybody has these moments in the sport. You say, oh yes, I remember being a kid and watching Tara and Michelle on TV and spinning around in my living room and thinking that's why I want to go try out skating, and I want to follow it, and I want to do all of these things. And it was because it was on TV and because my family that knew nothing about it from a sports perspective thought it was fun to watch, and they could have opinions about the judging and and be engaged in that way.
We're sitting here today and Dick Button passed away. As a young Brit competing internationally at my first Worlds, Colorado Springs, I had no idea who this person was, because the person standing in front of me telling me how much he loved what I did and everything else was not the person I'd watched on television. But that stuck with me. Mm-hmm. And then he was a great admirer and supporter and critic with me. As he was with everybody, and Brian and Scott and everybody else would tell you the same. But his passion that he gave you with that then carried through with the pro championships. And I don't think any of us would have the power, the passion of what we did without people like him giving us that information and that validation, which is what I will always try to do. I want other people to feel like I did when I was on the ice. He did the same. So rest in peace. Thank you.
That's a wonderful, wonderful way to end it.
Thank you to Robin. You can find the transcript and links to the things we talked about in the show notes and description. You can follow Robin on Instagram at RobinCousins_Official. You can reach me with comments or suggestions for topics and people I should talk to by email at fsfuturepodcast@gmail.com or on Instagram at FutureFSPodcast and Blue Sky at FutureOfFS. If you appreciate the podcast, you can also support my work with a tip jar at futureoffigureskating.pinecast.co. Remember to subscribe to The Future of Figure Skating on YouTube and wherever you listen to podcasts, and share it with your friends.